How's it going, everybody? Damien G here with Big Gold Belt Media with another animated review for you. This time from the DC universe, we have Catwoman Hunted, scheduled to release February 8th by Warner Brothers. Written and produced by Greg Weisman of Young Justice fame. Directed by Shinsuke Terasawa. Animated by OLM Team Inoue. Basically running about 80 minutes or so. Taken from the official Wikipedia page, so thank you very much to that. So off the bat, I'm going to tell you from my early research of this before I went in blind. This takes place kind of in the Young Justice universe, known as Earth 16. But even Greg Weisman himself has said it's not direct canon. It's kind of canon adjacent. So basically, don't be surprised that this pops up referenced in Young Justice or in that universe at some point in time in the future, but not really, but it kind of is. I think that's the best way to tie this in. But Catwoman Hunted, it was an interesting dive for me to really sink my teeth into, pun unintended, into Catwoman without Batman. There is no Batman in this movie. Let me just throw that out there because I know a lot of people are tired of seeing Batman appear and other properties that he has no business being in. He is not in this movie, but Batwoman is. So the Bat family had to be involved somehow, some way, since Selina Kyle was involved. And there's a lot of mini spoilers I'm going to drop. I'm going to drop some spoiler Easter eggs here. I'm not going to give you too much of the plot, but I want you to understand just what's going on and who are the players here. Basically, in the movie, you have her as Selina Kyle basically going undercover in the beginning of the stage of the film with Black Mask. If you know who Black Mask is, you know from Birds of Prey. I mean, not Birds of Prey. The Emancipation of Harley Quinn, the Birds of Prey, played by Ewan McGregor, if I'm remembering correctly. So she shows up as his arm candy. He's there to make some sort of deal. They're at a costume party, and if you can only imagine the types of superhero Easter eggs you get. So you get your Supermans, you get your Batmans, you get your Jokers, your Wonder Womans, your Aquaman, and the like at this costume party. And basically, she's casing the joint for a robbery. What ends up happening is that there is a jewel that is involved that she tries to steal that is at this party. It is a game of, and I hate to use this analogy, even now thinking about it, it's a really bad analogy. It's a cat and mouse game that gets played out over the course of this first part of the movie. And I can tell you right off the bat, I enjoyed the animation style. It's very anime, Japanese inspired, which, if you know me, I love and appreciate. The music was really a highlight, and probably one of the biggest highlights of the movie was the actual soundtrack. It had a bit of a jazzy, feel to it, a little smooth jazzy in certain moments. I don't know if the music fit the entire motif of the film, but it went really well. For me, I think it melded well in certain aspects. So basically, she's casing the joint, winds up robbing this jewel, or this emerald, tries to escape. In my opinion, is one of the longest chase scenes I remember, because, man, I felt this chase scene went on maybe a bit too long. You are not the French Connection. So 5 minutes should have been shaved off this chase scene, or maybe 3, because in my estimation, it just took too long to develop. The whole cat and mouse game, get her, don't let her get away, that kind of vibe when we have Black Mask people going after her, as well as a new organization known as the Leviathan organization, which lists itself as a collaborative, which we find out is run by one Barbara Minerva. Now, I'm not going to give away what her actual name is. If you watched the media, if you know DC, you know Barbara Minerva is, but they're not playing that up just yet in the movie. So there's a chase, hilarity ensues, she escapes, only to be stopped by not Batman, Batwoman. And Batwoman appears just as she does in her regular, I want to say, garb, or her regular animated garb, the red, the black, the red again. Cool, great. Moving on with that. You needed to have somebody with the Bat family, apparently, but I didn't think so. I thought this would have been a great standalone with just Catwoman, but alas, you had to throw a Bat orang or a Bat family member involved with this. There's also Interpol agents, Faraday and Pennyworth. And yes, that Faraday name and that Pennyworth, which I think, again, since it's a Bat family narrative, you have to throw Pennyworth in there as a name just to be like, oh, Alfred's connection. Yay, But the movie itself plays out, in my estimation, in three parts. Number one, the robbery and chase. And then we get to the middle portion where she escapes the chase, but she's coerced into working for Interpol and with Batwoman in order to thwart Leviathan. So that's the second part of the movie. And then the third part is basically the hero's journey, victory, where she thwarts the bad guys. It's pretty paint by numbers. It's nothing too out of the ordinary. There's not many risks being taken with this film or with this video. I'm glad this wasn't released in theaters. I feel like it would have bombed, in my estimation. I think this ran a little bit too long. This could have been an animated just featurette. 80 minutes might be a little too long. This could have been done in 45, if we're being completely honest, at least on my end. Like I said, there's three parts, very formulaic. Batwoman, Interpol, Catwoman, Leviathan, the bad guys. So got that out of the way. So you can only imagine what's going to happen, what's going to occur if I iron it out in those three facets. We're introduced to Leviathan, we're introduced to Interpol agents, we're introduced to Batwoman if you don't know who she is, we're introduced to why Catwoman is doing what she does, because she's a bit of an anti-hero, but there's always a reason why she's doing what she's doing. Yes, she does. She robs, she's a thief, cool, but there's a reason why, and if you follow the media, you know why she's robbing, more so now, to take care of her girls back in Gotham, trafficked, runaways, things like that. So thief with a heart. Sure, we'll go with that. Another thing I enjoyed was the action sequences in this. The action sequences were very well done, especially the closed combat. Now, I hope someone understands what I'm saying by that. The martial arts, the fist fighting closed combat portion. I mean, you can spray guns all you want in animation, whatever, is what it is. But for me personally, I love hand-to-hand combat. I love watching it. I love martial arts movies. So I have a lot of hand-to-hand combat. There's appearances by tons of DC rogues and heroes alike. We have Solomon Grundy. There's a Talia al Ghul appearance, which is interesting as you watch the story play out. As I said, Barbara Minerva's in there. There's just the League of Shadows. So there's a lot of martial arts happening. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening. There are some things I had a problem with that during the watch of this movie were cleared up towards the end, because we have an appearance from Nosferatu as well as Cheshire. Now, if you watch Young Justice, you know exactly the type of villain or fighter Cheshire is. But Cheshire going up against Catwoman, you would think should be one-sided. It's not. And I was surprised until it was explained as to why it wasn't one-sided during the course of the film. Just a lot of different things. Mr. Yakuza, La Dama, Dr. Zin, I believe the name was. Like I said, Black Mask is in this. Barbara Nerve is in this, otherwise known as you-know-who. So there's a lot of just moving parts. And the story, as I said, it's the three-parter that could have been done like a Young Justice episode, maybe over the course of 2 or 3 Young Justice episodes. But they chose to make this into a full-length movie. The good guys win, spoilers on that. But we then understand there's some badass fights toward the end, especially between the Leviathan members. There's some demons involved. Ninjas are involved. Mecha suits are involved. So, think of Lex Luthor using his kryptonite suit, but just a little bit more streamlined as a crime syndicate. As I said, ninjas are there. Demons are summoned from hell. So cool. That was something I didn't expect. So you have these two people who, in Batwoman and Catwoman, who themselves have a weird playful banter. A sexual tension is played up almost a little bit too much to my liking. I felt like everything that Catwoman did had an air of seductiveness and sensualness. Now, I don't know if that was the design, if that's her character now, with the new 52 and her current state. But she's always been the femme fatale. So I guess we're playing that up pretty much to level 9 in this movie, almost at every single turn. I feel as if she slept with everybody in this movie at some point, not during the movie, but has a sexual tension with a lot of the characters. And as I said, it's a little formulaic, and the best parts, as I stated, were the music, the animation style, the fight scenes I thought were really well done. And it kept me invested when there were lulls in the story. The narrative was a little boring. I'll say boring because it's basically using a villain to beat other villains. Very Suicide Squad light, using them as bait to kind of get what you want with extortion, with the whole, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. And you'll get the hookup and you can go free, etc., etc. So it's that kind of narrative. But I don't know if it's meant to be a continuation piece because we're introduced to who the real masterminds behind Leviathan are. And it's not who you think, or at least it's not who you think the movie wants you to think it is. And it's pretty much revealed in the last third, if you have an aha moment, who really is behind this. Oh, that makes sense. So I don't know if it's meant to be a continuation because it's still a part of the Bat family and loosely connected to the Young Justice universe. So there's that. The things I didn't like. Most of the voice acting was good. I could not stand Batwoman's performance. Now, Stephanie Beatriz, I know her work from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She was in Encanto, if you've seen that movie. But I did not like her portrayal of Batwoman. It did nothing for me. I thought the voice portrayals of Pennyworth and Faraday were boring. A lot of uninspired dialogue, quippy banter. I don't think it was well written. And some of the performances were just dry as paint. And I think that brings down the story a little bit. The villains themselves, except for name, didn't really attribute themselves. The villains kind of disappointed me. I thought they would be a little bit better. I don't want to say better executed, but sure, we'll go with better executed than what we're used to seeing. It was very vanilla. It was an okay film. It was all right. If I'm going to give it a grade, it was a solid C plus movie. I'm sure 2 Chainz probably liked it a little bit more than I did, but I'd give it a C plus. The fight scenes were great. The music was good. The animation was good. And the character Easter eggs were good as well, especially during the costume party where you realize this is a costume party of villains, literally bad people with guns and weapons. And the things I didn't like were the pacing was a little off. The story, like I said, could have had maybe 5 to 10 minutes taken off of it, and it still would have been a little bit more worthwhile. And the voice acting was very hit or miss, especially, some of the heroes. Catwoman's voice actress, I believe, Elizabeth Gillies, I don't want to mispronounce her name, was really well done. Keith David, who is impeccable, makes an appearance. Stephen Bloom, if you've watched Adult Swim, and Toonami, you know exactly who he is. Kelly Hu voices Cheshire, which I didn't know until I looked up the cast. She did well as Cheshire, even though I don't think Cheshire was portrayed as well as she could have been. Jonathan Frakes from Star Trek The Next Generation appears in this. So a lot of moving parts, a lot of good actors, but just stiff portrayals. As I said, those were the real pain points for me while watching this review. But let me know in the comments, like I said, this gets a solid C plus. Let me know in the comments down in the YouTube dialogues. Let's have some discourse. Let's have some discussion. Me discussing Catwoman Hunted. As I said, it is scheduled for release on Tuesday, February 8th. Gets a CC plus from me. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and let's have a chat, shall we? Thank you and goodbye.
Big gold bell.